And are we live?
We are live. Hold on. Who's that? Hold on a second.
Who's this?
Usually it's just me and you, but we got someone else here today. Like, what's going on?
We have indeed.
This is not AI. Yeah, it's the new AI phone. This is not AI. Yeah, this is the real person. Yes. Hold on. Who are you?
Yeah, who's this guy? And listen, for the people who are listening to this and not downloading this kind of thing, we've got a guest on the show, and our usual guest, Emmanuel's not here, but Deval's generated a brand new guest, and we just got to say, Mohammed, welcome to the Flixters show. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to make it down to speak to us about your journey through acting. And we're going to be speaking about movies. We're going to be speaking about you acting in. Actually, you know what, Deval, you introduce him.
Do you know what? The best person to introduce Mohammed is Mohammed. So welcome to the show. So, who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, guys. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm an old friend of Deval's, really. That's my main claim to fame. Is being lucky enough to know Deval, or unlucky enough, as other people might say. But my name is Mohammed Kamel. I'm an actor, also a filmmaker, and an erstwhile teacher like yourself, Omar. And my credits include The Crown, playing the role of Ali Fayed on there, Indiana Jones and A Dial of Destiny, Liaison with Eva Green and Vincent Cassel on Apple TV. So it's coming along nicely, as they say.
Dropping these bombs, man. Yeah,
man's hitting us, you know.
About Vincent Cassel, man. We got come on, man.
Vincent
Cassel. Oui.
That guy, gangster. Do you know that?
We're going to get into all of that. Trust me, we're going to get into that. So this show is a special one because we're going to weave in Mohammed into the show, and we're going to add in little bits and pieces, movie news and things like that. And we're going to get his take on kind of some of the shows that are playing on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, and movies and things like that. And then we're going to ask him obviously lots of questions, because I've got lots of questions that I want to ask. But before we get into the main show, Mohammed, there's one thing that we love doing on this podcast is we love shouting out the people who listen to the show. So Deval, take it away. Do the shout outs for us, please.
Big shout out goes to Zakharov. Don't think Zakharov sounds like a Bond villain.
It sounds like a brilliant name.
It does, isn't it? He's a brilliant guy. But you know what? He's one of our sort of most loyal listeners. Like he loves the show. He listens to the show while he's cooking his food, and he says that the show adds spice.
Oh, lovely.
You see what I'm saying? Adds that spice.
Adds a bit of chili sauce and
See what I'm saying?
Seasoning.
Exactly. But yeah, he was on Instagram, posted a lovely picture of himself, and we thought, you know what? Big him up. Big up Zakharov. He's got to come on the show as well one day. We'll get him on one day. So yeah, big up Zakharov.
Big up Zakharov.
See you soon.
Yeah, he's got to dial in. He's dialing in from Amsterdam, isn't he, Deval?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got international out here, man. Come on,
lovely. So we got international. We got Dutch fans and fans all over the world. I love that.
All over the place. All right, listen, look, let's get into movie news now. Listen, let me ask Mohammed, let's straight up, Deval. I know what your answer is going to be to this, but listen, Mohammed, Danny Boyle, Cillian Murphy, 28 days later. I mean, what's your whole take on his vision, Danny Boyle's vision of the whole zombie genre? What did you make of it when that first hit our screens?
Oh, that's one of the most inspirational films of the last, I would say, well, in the new millennium.
Yeah.
That whole period, I think from, let's say the late 90s up to about 2010, 2012, you could say it wasn't as, in terms of filmmaking, it wasn't as special as, say, the previous time in the early 90s or the 80s or the 70s, if you know what I mean. But what Danny Boyle did with 28 Days Later and then 28 Weeks Later, but in particular the first film, he did something similar to what David Lynch did with Mulholland Drive, which came out in 2001, which was to basically make this sort of a statement in the new millennium in the 2000s. And Cillian Murphy, what a discovery. I mean, it's not to say that was his first role, because as actors, we all know you've got to come up in the smaller roles first. There's no such thing as an overnight success. But that being his major breakthrough lead role, what an absolute revelation. And look what's happening to him now. So I'm a big fan of 28 Days Later. It's a film that really gets you involved. Yeah. From start to finish, you're always thinking, what's going to happen next? You can't take your eyes off it. Yeah. It's not one of those films that you can pause and say, oh, I'll come back and watch it later. No. Once you start watching 28 Days Later, even if you've seen it before, you just watch it all the way through.
You just watch it all the way through. Exactly.
And, sorry, you just got.
Do you know what? It's such a refreshing difference.
Yeah,
to have a professional on the show, because the answer that you just gave was proper. If you asked me that question, I'd have been like, "Yeah, it was all right."
Yeah,
zombies, they were running. The zombies were running.
Exactly. That's why we're getting a different perspective on it, and the reason why we're bringing this up, for our listeners and for the people watching this on YouTube and stuff. Danny Boyle is returning to the zombie genre. So he's coming back with the movie 28 years later. And check this out. They're splitting it up into 2 parts.
Oh, my God. Wow. 28 years later.
Wow.
28 years later. And here's the thing. They're bringing back Cillian Murphy. So this is like...
Wow.
Yeah. And it kind of... It's great because obviously Cillian Murphy's, like you mentioned, Mohammed, he's got this massive kind of a career that he's had, and Danny Boyle's Oscar winner, and he's gone on and done great things, and now he's going to come back full circle to that movie that kind of made them both.
Yes.
What would you make of it? Them splitting it up into part 2. I don't know. The zombies have evolved now. They've multiplied. Who knows what's gone on? I
think it would be a good idea to split it up into part 2s, as long as there's that journey of of the characters, the zombies, whatever you want to call it, but it's got to be a reason to split it up. Yeah. Obviously, if the film, there's so much of the film that it can't be put into one, and having 2 bites of the cherry is more digestible, then go for it. Like what's his name? Rebel Moon. That's 2 parts, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So we see that quite often these days. Obviously, Kill Bill was 2 parts.
Kill Bill, yeah.
So yeah, I think if the film's good, the film's good, and whether it's 1 part, 2 parts. I think it would be a good idea.
Do you feel sometimes, because I guess we're going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop 4 later on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel sometimes that it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Where part of you is so excited that Danny Boyle and Cillian Murphy are both coming back for this, but then the other part is you're worried in some sense that they might spoil the legacy.
Don't mess it up.
The original film.
Okay.
Or mess it up, or maybe you shouldn't revisit that. It's like a manager. It's like a football manager going back to manage a club he managed back in the day and hoping to get the same success again. Do you feel that kind of double-edged sword, or?
I absolutely. Deval and I, we've had this conversation so many times about, hey, should they be going back for more, and should they be making a sequel or a prequel and revisiting the universe again? And I'm like you with this one, there's a bit of trepidation, but excitement. But we can only judge it when it comes out, right?
Yeah,
true that.
Exactly.
Yeah, what I love about Danny Boyle films, I'll just say this, is that he reminds me a lot of Akira Kurosawa, the legendary Japanese filmmaker.
Mohammed's dropping some bombs now, man.
Yeah, dropping some.
You're gonna get me out of the job, man. Go home, man.
I hope that Zakharov and the other listeners and watchers all know who Kurosawa is. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But what I always felt about Kurosawa, and you can actually see YouTube video essays on this online, is that he's a real master of movement. There's a lot of movement and balletic dance-like imagery in his films. And I think that Danny Boyle is very good at having movement. Not necessarily dance, or he has had dance sequences in his films before, but Danny Boyle is such a good director at having movement and that type of thing in his films. And then he mixes it in with moments of stillness. So if you remember the first 28 Days Later movie, I don't know how well you remember it. Yeah. There was all this madness with the zombies, and then there was a very quiet scene where Cillian Murphy's hiding out in like a newsagent's, like a sweet shop. And it's just a quiet scene where him and the lead actress then have that conversation and talk about, so how many brothers and sisters did you have? And it's that moment of quietness after all the madness of the zombies. And that, I think that's really good filmmaking.
And do you not think something similar happens in part 2? We're in the house, I think right at the start, where forgot the guy's name now, but him and his wife are in a house.
Robert Carlyle.
Robert Carlyle.
There's
a moment where I think he's a coward or something. He does something cowardly, and the zombies kind of get to his wife. And there's a moment where they're running around, and then there's a moment of stillness and quietness where they communicate through their eyes.
Yeah.
And he betrays her.
Yeah.
What he just said jumped into my mind. So you're definitely right.
Yeah. And Cillian Murphy, he's got that face where when the camera's on him, it just like kind of he says so much. Like in Oppenheimer, oh my gosh, man.
Oh my God.
The close-ups in that movie of his face, Jesus. So listen, look, 28 Days, the universe, Deval and I and, Mohammed, we're fans of that whole universe. So can't wait to kind of see this happen. And obviously keep listening to the Flixters and keep watching us, and we'll let you know when that happens. But listen, speaking about sequels or kind of continuing the universe, check this out. Let's speak about Beverly Hills Cop 4. So I'm not sure what you guys feel, how you feel about this, but this is 30 years since Beverly Hills Cop 3. 30 years have passed since Beverly Hills, 30 years since part 3, right? And part 3 wasn't the best in the series. Let's just put it that way. For me,
that's a very diplomatic way of putting
it. Part 1 and part 2, classics. Absolutely. Eddie Murphy at his peak. He's like smashing it, killing it. And I don't know, has he got it in him to pull this one out the bag and make it a bona fide classic? It's coming out on Netflix. It's going to be landing on July the 3rd. So summertime, big blockbuster movie. It's a Netflix exclusive. I mean, what's your take on it?
I think, this isn't the first time, is it? We saw Coming to America. That came out, I don't know, when the first one was 1988, I think, or something like that.
88,
So years later, similar to this. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get a Golden Child next. Golden Child 2. And this new Golden
Charles
Child
Dance is still alive.
Charles because Lannister always pays his debts, innit?
That's right.
But, you know what? I think they've struck up this deal with Netflix. These films have generational. I want to use the word wealth to them because they've been such a part of people's lives for years that if you just bring it out again, good or bad, they will bums on seats or subscriptions or whatever, however you want to count it. It's still going to be, it's going to make an impact, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing, right? Beverly Hills Cop 2, it was foul mouthed. It was Eddie Murphy, and he's doing his thing. Will he in this day and age in 2024? Will it be the same kind of comedy? I just hope they do. This is one of those things, man. Double-edged sword, Mohammed. What you said, double-edged sword.
Yeah, they've got to be brave. They've got to keep that. They've got to let Eddie Murphy be Eddie Murphy.
Exactly.
And be the original Eddie Murphy, which is you can't be offended at any jokes. You've got to just let him do what he does. That whole period where there was trading places, Beverly Hills Cop 1, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Coming to America, 48 hours, 48 hours later. That whole period, Eddie Murphy was just probably the number one comedy star in the world.
Was that before his special, his comedy special, or that was in between?
I think that was in between. They came sort of in between. And then, Delirious and Raw, the comedy special. Man. That period where if you'd have tried to censor him or made his made his comedy like PC, it wouldn't work. But I got to tell you, Beverly Hills Cop, man, that is like a big part of our childhood. We used to go into school. I mean, kids now don't know because they spend their time in school on their phones and TikTok. But for us, before the days of phones and mobile, we used to go into school and all we do is quote Eddie Murphy lines to each other. That was like our playground, lines from the movies. That's it. So, man. And we actually turned, Deval, you remember a friend of ours called Cadian, right?
Yeah.
So we actually turned what Eddie Murphy does in Beverly Hills Cop into an art form. And we used to call it, let's Eddie Murphy our way into that place. Because, Eddie Murphy spent a lot of time in trading places in Beverly Hills Cop, just getting into particular venues that he shouldn't really be in, like by pretending to be the pool cleaner or pretending to deliver vitamins. You remember? Or pretending to be Ramon. When he goes, tell him to, he's a Capricorn, tell him to go and get himself checked out. Remember that scene? So we turned that into an art form. We used to go out in London and say,
trying to get into
that place won't allow urban guys like us in there. Let's Eddie Murphy it, and then we just go up and do like a little Eddie Murphy impression. Somehow twist it somehow, and then get our way inside.
Get in the way in. That's it, man. Hustling. That is it. That's Eddie Murphy's way.
Because he's got like 9 kids to feed.
That's right.
The guy from Total Recall.
Yeah,
that guy's got nothing on Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
big kids to feed.
So what happened to number 5?
Exactly.
He goes, shit, man, you got me.
Yeah, he's like Ric Flair, right? He's got like Ric Flair's got 6 ex-wives to feed, right? Alimony, yeah.
And one of them isn't one of his kids from one of the Spice Girls or something.
Yeah. Mel B. Yeah.
Yeah, Mel B's got like one of his kids from.
I think that's right.
Yeah. All right, we digress. So, folks, if you're out there,
so guys, can I just ask, what's your favorite Beverly Hills Cop like line and stuff?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, there's just I
couldn't even. Oh my gosh.
Because I love the bit. When the chief comes in right at the end, near the end of the film, and he goes, they're all sitting down, and he goes to him, "Is this the man?" And he goes, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Is this the man who crashed through Victor Maitland's window?" "Yes, sir." "The man who disabled an unmarked unit with a banana?" I love the way he says banana. Do you remember? And he goes, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Who lured Taggart and Rosemont into a gross dereliction of duty at a striptease establishment?" And then he goes, "Is this the guy who ruined the buffet at the Harrow Club this morning?" Do you remember that whole scene?
Your memory is mad, you know. Yeah. This guy's memory.
This man, seriously, jeez. All right, well, listen, look, if you want to catch up, I mean, where can you watch those? Beverly Hills 1 and 2? On Netflix now? Can you get them on Netflix, Amazon Prime? I don't know.
I would think so. If they're going to have part 4 on or whatever, I would think they've got the rest of them on.
Or
if not, they will have them soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, kids, if you don't know what we're talking about, go check out Beverly Hills and watch those. All right, let's move on. Let's check this one out. So, Mohammed, did you watch Hijack on Apple Plus TV?
I haven't watched Hijack yet. Okay. But I will have to watch it because my friend has got a part in that.
Oh, nice!
Okay.
Yeah,
good actor friend of mine, Ainsley Lloyd Bennett. He's playing a role in there. He's got a nice little scene in there as a policeman. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Deval and I, we reviewed the show and we liked it, and Idris Elba doing Idris Elba, cracking skulls and just like saving the day and everything. So it's going to be back the way they left it. Deval, remember when we were like, "Oh shit, is there going to be a second season?" Well, it's going to be more.
And Hijack's one of those shows where I'll admit, when I first saw the trailer and stuff, I thought this might just be a general kind of show. It might not be anything too good. And then it's weird. It's like the expectations, it comes in really sort of medium, and when you start watching it, you're like, hold on a second, I need to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think more shows should actually hit you like that and show you just how better they can be. So it's just the expectations for me were exceeded massively. Yeah. Really good show, honestly.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff.
Really good show.
Yeah. A chance to watch
season 2, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. And listen, look, it's another kind of we've spoken about this on the podcast about Apple Plus. Maybe they started off a bit low key, but slowly. I mean, they're pulling out the stops. They're bringing out the big guns, and I'm hearing a lot about Masters of the Air. It's another big show which we can speak about a bit later on if we've got time. But listen, folks. So that's Hijack season 2. If you're really interested in that, go check it out on Apple Plus. And finally, we're going to end up movie news on a bit of a sad note, on a bit of a bummer. So actor Carl Weathers, who famously played Apollo Creed, and not just Apollo Creed. I mean, he's done like loads of things. He was in Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was in Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler.
Listen, Dylan, you son of a bitch.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pointers. Yeah. Classic movies. Yeah.
And we haven't even spoken about Star Wars. He was actually in The Mandalorian.
He was in Mando, yeah.
Directed 2 episodes. He was
that's right.
Director.
Nominated for an award as well for that.
He was, yeah.
Great. Directed. Yeah. And he passed away and everything. But I mean, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on this one? Just kind of the legacy, the movies that he was in. I remember he starred in this kind of. Yeah, it was this
Action Jackson.
Action Jackson.
I can't say action. I say Action Jackson. I can't even say it properly. Yeah, that old school film. Look at the title.
Old school film.
Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Old
I
school
mean,
exploitation. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say his legacy. I think everyone knows who this guy, Carl Weathers is. Everyone, like, whether they know him by name, by face, by biceps, by whatever, people know who he is. And just the films, the vast array of films and TV shows he's in. I've only found out recently he was an athlete first of all. He played American football. I didn't even realize that. But going from sports person to actor, we've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger do it. Obviously, like recent ones, Jason Statham, he was a diver,
that's right.
actor. These guys, people think, oh, it's easy. You got a bit of muscle. You still got to work on your trade.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And he's directed as well. So, I mean, this guy is gangster. Look at Predator. Predator.
Classic.
One of those films. If you see it, you have to finish your film. You can't walk away from it.
No.
Yeah.
And it's one of those films where if you've seen it 100 times and you're flicking through the channels and it's on again, it's like you watch it again, even though you've seen it 100 times. It's like
101.
Yeah, and he's mesmeric. He really is. Talk about charisma and presence, like using, the screen presence of Carl Weathers. The way he carries himself in the Rocky movies, in Predator, even like later on in life in Mando, it's like the guy was stealing many scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
Shape.
Yeah.
They don't make that shape anymore. You see the muscles that they're cut.
Yeah.
The way they don't make that shape anymore.
No. The structure's there. They don't make people like that.
No.
It's true. Yeah.
It's true. It sounds like we're celebrating you, Apollo, man.
Ring the bell. Ding, ding.
And then he goes, come on now, come on, Stallone, come on, Bubba. I loved that. I loved all that.
Yeah, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Yeah,
oh man, I love that. So listen, rest in peace, rest in power, Carl Weathers. All right, listen. Sadly, we've got to move on. So let's this next section of the podcast.
This section's going to be. Do you know what it's going to be? It's not going to be what it normally is because we've got a star right here.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So we've whetted everyone's appetite with a bit about obviously lots of news and stuff like that. But we need to hear from the horse's mouth. We need to hear from the horse's mouth.
Honestly,
a bit about your journey. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Mohammed, just kind of let us know, man. Ease us into the whole journey. How you got into acting? Like, how did you start off? Because there's going to be people out there listening to the show right now who are going to be interested and want to know about you and about more about you and about what you've done and how you got into the whole thing and your transition from teaching to acting and and directing as well. So please enlighten us.
Yeah. So the first thing to say to all your viewers and listeners is that if I can do it, anybody can, right? But of course, it doesn't come overnight. You have to work for it. So what I would say is, if you've been listening to the show so far, you'll realize that I do have a love of movies and movie history. So, as Deval says, I can quote movie dialogue, I can quote lines, I do impressions of the actors. So I have that love of film and love of acting innate in me already, and love of filmmakers. So I grew up watching The Godfather, Enter the Dragon. I was fascinated by that stuff as a kid. And my dad used to be a journalist, and he would say to me, if you're going to stay up late and watch films past your bedtime that you're not supposed to be watching, you have to get a notepad and a pen or a pencil and make some notes. You can't just watch like a zombie. Yeah. So my dad kind of instilled in me that.
I know. I don't want to stop you. Do you know what? Do you know how gangster it is
amazing
to see someone's passion?
Yeah.
And to not block it, but give them a direction to funnel it.
That is wicked.
Do you know what I mean? Because you can't, like Bruce Lee talks about water being water. It flows. You can't stop it. It can change its shape. That's gangster.
Thank you very much.
Gangster.
You met my father, didn't you?
Yeah.
I met my father, so he knows about his sort of personality and stuff. Yeah. So just from that young age, I learned to have an appreciation for stories, filmmaking, even like being into literature, like reading classical books. I was into English literature and stuff. Yeah. So it gives you an idea of storytelling, and classic types of stories, the archetypes.
Yeah.
Things like the hero's journey, stuff like that. Yeah. So it was always inside me. but kind of suppressed. I got distracted by other things, as Duval knows. I'm easily distracted, especially by beauty and especially by fast food. Fast food, fast cars, fast women, as they say. So you kind of don't really think. And also, the area that we grew up in and being like with our ethnicities and stuff, sometimes you have that impression that maybe this industry is not for me, or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is the wrong idea to have, by the way. But for whatever reason, it might be in your mind that it's not really for you. And then
Absolutely.
One of the first things that happened is thanks to this guy here, Duval. We used to sit opposite each other at a job.
Yeah.
And we won't mention any names. We used to sit opposite each other at a job for probably around about a year, maybe less than a year, 9 months, 10 months. And just being sat opposite somebody who's such a movie buff like myself and is really into movies, and we just used to we would only ever talk about either football or movies, our two sort of passions. And Duval said to me once, I'm actually a short filmmaker. And I was like, oh really, you kept that quiet? And he said, why don't you come along and do I want you to do a voiceover. He knew that I liked doing different accents and I could impersonate different actors with their accents. And I'm quite multilingual as well. So he said, come along, do a voiceover for this film. So that was like my first introduction to it's my first IMDb credit. And it's still on there, by the way. It's still on my IMDb. Yeah, that first credit with Duval. So nice. And after that, I met this guy, Hainsley, the one I was telling you about, who's in Hijack. By the way, season 1, episode 7, Hijack. That's where you'll see Hainsley, right? He's in episode 7. So I met Hainsley completely randomly, at a night out in London. I was with my friend Cadian, and we bumped into Hainsley, and we just got on like a house on fire. When I first met Duval, and we just got on like a house on fire. Some things are meant to be, right?
Exactly.
And Hainsley was from the same area of London as us, right? So from a poor area, urban background. He's an actor of colour.
Yep.
And he said to me, I'm an actor. And I was like, because I used to think if you're an actor, that means you must be Tom Cruise, right? Because you have this kind of ignorant ideas, right? Yeah. You have ignorant ideas. And it turns out he was like very humble. He was like, no, I do McDonald's. I've done a McDonald's commercial. Yeah. I never used to know that all the people in commercials were actors. I mean, that's how ignorant I was. I never used to know that. I used to think people in commercials actually worked for McDonald's, right? That shows you how much I knew, right? What an idiot. So it's like, I then started to realize, all these people in commercials are actors, and there's not enough acting jobs to go around. That's why actors have to do commercials. So he explained these things to me, and we became very good friends. We just hit it off. We started to meet socially. And then like Duval, in the same way that Duval said to me, listen, Mohammed, you love movies and you can do all these impressions. Why don't you get involved? Hainsley said the same thing to me as Duval, which was, why don't you get involved and start taking acting lessons and pursuing it? And that's how I got into it. And I did an acting course at Arts Ed, which is Andrew Lloyd Webber's drama school over in Chiswick, West London. Yeah. And then got myself my first agent, terrible agent, unfortunately. I won't mention any names. I realized...
Was that because of the agent didn't know, your background and about the type of kind of, things that you were into? He just kind of saw your face and was like, okay, just try and get him into...
Yeah, that's right. Didn't know how to use me. Didn't know how to pitch me.
Right.
But to be fair, he picked me up from just seeing... when you finish your course at Arts Ed, you do like a little play, a little show. And he picked me up just from coming to watch that show. So I didn't have any sort of videos online or anything that you could see of me.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that, and this is what I mentioned, you've seen my interviews on BBC and ITV and stuff like that. So I'll say to you the same thing that I said to them, which is I realized I had to make my own show reel.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than trust someone else to do a show reel for me, who knows me better than me? So I started writing my own scripts. So this is how I became a filmmaker. I became a filmmaker out of necessity. They say, what's that old saying? Necessity is the mother of all invention. Yep. That old saying, necessity is the mother of all invention. So out of necessity, I became a filmmaker, a writer and a director. I thought, okay, I did a little weekend course in screenwriting at a place called Rain Dance.
Yeah, I've heard of Rain Dance. Big time.
Rain Dance is
famous.
like a film festival in London, but it's also a film school and a film festival. I did a little weekend screenwriting course, and then I did a little weekend directing course. And really, that weekend directing course for me was more valuable than an entire year of doing drama school. Honestly,
wow!
Because that directing course was being taught by a guy called Patrick Tucker. And he used to direct episodes of Brookside on Channel 4 back in the day. Yeah. Brookside is his old Channel 4 show based in Liverpool.
Yeah, like a drama.
Yeah. It's been replaced by Hollyoaks. You know how every little area of England has its own show? So Yorkshire has Emmerdale, Manchester has Coronation Street, London has EastEnders, and Liverpool has Hollyoaks. But Liverpool used to have Brookside before Hollyoaks.
Yep.
And in that directing course, I learned everything I needed to know, not just about directing, but also about acting. Because he goes, it's the good director who makes all these actors who you see doing fantastic jobs. It's because directors told them stuff like, if the microphone is really close, lower your voice. And then if the microphone is far away, raise your voice.
Yep.
I never learned that at drama school. But I learned it in the directing course. You see what I mean? So it was very, very valuable. And I started to use that then in my auditions, all these little tricks of the trade from a director's side. But yeah, I became a filmmaker out of necessity because I wanted to make my own short films, which showcase my abilities.
Yeah.
And then after I did that, that's when I managed then to get the agent who got me all the stuff you're seeing me in now. Yeah.
Wow.
What stuff is that? What stuff have you been in? Like,
so how do you tell us the transition then? Tell us about the transition into The Crown, and then what came first, The Crown or Indiana Jones? Which one was that first?
What came first was Liaison, which is a joint French and British production on Apple TV, and it stars Vincent Cassel, Vincent Cassel, and Eva Green. They are former lovers who are now Eva Green is still like in the French Secret Service, but Vincent Cassel has kind of left. They used to work together and they used to be lovers.
Does Eva Green speak French in real life as well?
Yeah, she's from France. They're both from France.
So stupid, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought she was English or something.
No, Eva Green is French.
Her English accent is so good.
I know, it's perfect.
She spent time in England, I think, as well. But I love a good spy thriller.
Yeah, you know, it's like the one from the X-Files. What's that? Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know where she's from.
Because Gillian Anderson is from America, but because she spent so long in England, when she comes to England, she just speaks like a BBC reporter, right? But then when she goes back to America, she just speaks with her American accent. It's like,
So what was it like on Liaison? What was the experience like?
Oh, I would say it's a double-edged sword. I'll tell you why. Because you know what they say? It's like London buses, right? Yeah. What's the saying about London buses? You wait
ages for one, and then two come at once.
Yeah. So I went through this period of, say, 2017, because I wrote and directed my short films around about 2015, 2016. And then they went on the festival circuit and I started to get some recognition.
Right.
I started to get my new agent, people sort of ringing me up and saying, oh, we've seen your work, can you submit it to our festival? And I started to get agents saying, can we sign you up as an actor as well? So that happened around, say, the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018. So from the beginning of 2018 all the way through to COVID,
right,
I was doing auditions and nothing happened.
Nothing was happening, right? Yeah,
nothing's happening. Nothing's hitting.
You were banging on the doors and banging on
the doors. But also, I must admit, part of it was my fault. I'll tell you why. The industry was going very digital and technical. And as Duval will tell you, I'm a big technophobe, right? So I love auditioning the old school way, which is you go to the audition room and everyone's there waiting in line and it's your turn to audition. I used to love that old fashioned way.
Yeah.
And then the industry started moving towards doing self-tapes. You've got to tape your own audition at home. And I'm like, how do I tape it at home? I can hardly send an email, right? I'm a technophobe. So it's like, I had to learn then. So the first couple of auditions that happened that way, I was like, in my heart, I was like rejecting it, not doing it properly, not really putting my heart and soul into it, thinking, oh, this phase will finish and then we can go back to auditioning inside the room. Yeah. But the phase never finished. And I was like, okay, I have to get with the program or drown, basically. So I started to learn how to do good self-tapes, set the camera up, film myself from good angles, do the self-tape properly, put my heart and soul into it. Yeah. And it's when I started really doing that the closest I came, I took an audition, the first audition where I thought, I'm really going to do this properly. I'll set up the camera properly. I'm just going to get with the program, put my heart and soul into it, was for The Witcher season 2. And I got into the final 3. Didn't get the part, but I thought the fact that from all these thousands of applicants that I got into the final 3, I knew that I was along the right path. And then immediately the next audition after that was Liaison, and I got Liaison.
See,
is it wicked?
It's validation.
I was like,
it was like a validation. Like, okay, you're in amongst them. Do you know what I mean?
You're like knocking at the door. You're
exactly.
You're nearly getting your first team start at you're on the subs bench at Anfield, and then the next match you might actually get onto the pitch, kind of thing. Yeah.
And then that whole kind of experience of being there, like being on set and everything. What did you take away from it then for your next role?
Oh, great question. So what I wanted to say before was I didn't 100% enjoy being on set because I was on Liaison on separate periods, like a year apart. A year apart. Yeah, Wow. So the first time I was on Liaison, it was right at the heat of when the pandemic was still like in lockdown.
Okay. Yeah.
So I couldn't really. I was like, I'm not enjoying this because they had to do a COVID test on me 1 week before. Then and that was knocking on the door at my house, right? And then they did another COVID test 3 days before. Then on the day before they sent the driver to pick me up, they did a COVID test in the morning. So it's like, if you fail any of those tests,
that's it.
That's it. And they're going to get another actor in probably. So I was really not enjoying that. And then once I passed those COVID tests, and they send a really nice car to pick you up, by the way. This is one of the perks of being an actor, right? Is that you get chauffeur driven in all these like nice Mercs and BMWs all around. You get treated like a VIP, which is you shouldn't get used to it though. Keep your feet on the ground. So once they drive you to the set, we were filming at the Four Seasons Hotel in the city, and all these COVID protocols and walk through here to take your temperature. So I just I couldn't really. That was my first experience of being on such a big set. My first big role in a big production. Apple TV, Eva Green, Vincent Cassel, and I'm having to go through all that COVID stuff.
All that stuff,
and you couldn't shake hands with anyone. I saw Vincent Cassel. We had a conversation. We weren't in the same scene together, but he was filming a scene just before I was filming a scene. So we were kind of passing each other because he was coming off the set and I was coming onto the set. And we stopped and people introduced us and said, "Oh, Vincent, this is Mohammed. He's playing this role. Mohammed, this is Vincent." And I was like, "Yeah, big fan of your work." And I was telling him, "I love your work. I love Hate." Do you remember that old French film, Hate?
Yeah, La Haine. Oh, man.
La Haine. What a film.
Yeah.
And I spent a few minutes talking to him about that. And we had this really lovely conversation. And you could tell that we sort of like, there were parts where we wanted to high-five each other.
High-five each other. You can't. Yeah.
We couldn't because there was security all around from the set, making sure that nobody could shake hands or touch, or do you know what I mean? So I didn't enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
But I loved obviously being the director of Stephen Hopkins. Do you remember 24?
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So the entire first season of 24, that was directed by Vincent Hopkins.
Oh.
So he directed Liaison, and he was my director, and he was amazing. He was really brilliant. The tips from master directors. You can tell they're masters of their craft. And I remember when we finished filming, he came up to me and said, "Mohammed, with such short notice, you learned all those lines, you delivered that performance, that emotional performance." Because I have to be really emotional with the character who's playing my nephew.
Yeah.
And he goes to me, "F the COVID rules, come here." And he gave me this hug in front of everyone. I thought, oh no, we're both going to get in trouble now.
Shit.
But obviously, as he's the director, they couldn't say anything to him.
No.
But he gave me that hug because he was just happy with the work.
Yeah.
And he said, what I loved about him is that he kept his, because at the moment, the script for episode 1, you're only in this one scene. But he goes, "I really loved your work. I'm going to try and see if we can get another scene for this character and have you back." And the guy kept his promise. 1 year later, exactly 1 year later, I got a call from my agent saying, "There's another scene for you in Liaison." And I don't think it was originally in the script, but Stephen Hopkins had them because he wanted. Yeah. So he's really nice man, great director, very respectful, always listens to the opinion of the actor.
Yeah.
Like he lets you do a couple of takes first to do what you want to do. And then only then he'll say, okay, we might still keep that take in, but can I ask you? Yeah, you might get some gem. Yeah. So he's like, can I ask you to do some other stuff? So I took that relationship with the director into then working on The Crown.
Brilliant.
But especially working on Indiana Jones. So yeah, I played the role of Ali Fayed, one of the Fayed
let's
brothers.
get into this one. So after Liaison, you got The Crown.
Yeah.
And listen, look, and by kind of like, you come in season 5, right? You're coming in season 5. Is that correct?
Season 5 and season 6, yeah.
So The Crown was this huge, big show for Netflix. And I know, like, obviously in Australia, like really massive.
Oh, they
in
love
the United States. In the United States, like really, really huge and everything. And I'll be honest with, and I'll be straight up. I never really got into The Crown. I never really got into the kind of the whole thing. And I knew it was there, and I knew it had a worldwide following, millions of kind of like, people watching the show. It just never really kind of got on there. And then there was kind of like a few bits where, they start introducing kind of like other aspects to it. And then I was like, okay, this sounds like as if it's an interesting plot. So when you come into it, this is kind of like the whole, the Mohammed Al Fayed kind of like storyline. Yeah. So we kind of see, his background starting off in Egypt, and about how he's kind of, he's starting off selling Coca-Cola on the streets, and then he strikes it big and everything. Yeah. So basically give us this introduction. Let us know how you got into that whole thing and what was the experience like for you?
It was an incredible experience. So first of all, as you guys would have gathered, I am a history buff as well. So I am fascinated by that whole... My favorite season is still the first season. So even though I'm in season 5 and 6, my favorite is the first season, just because I love that period in history. I love hearing about how the Queen, she wasn't meant to be in the line of succession. If you remember, her uncle was. And her uncle abdicated because he was in love with a woman.
Yeah.
And so he left it to his younger brother. And that moment changed the Queen's life, because she would have been a princess.
Yes.
Her uncle would have been the king. But she now had to know, my dad doesn't have any sons, and I'm the eldest daughter. So what happens when my dad dies? It's me. But she didn't complain. She just, got on with the job. So I really loved season 1 and explaining that whole history. But yeah, what I love about Peter Morgan, who's the guy who created the show and, wrote all the scripts, is that if he's going to show a particular storyline, he likes to show you the background to it. So he knew that eventually we're going to have to tell the story of Diana. And if you tell the story of Diana, you got to tell the story of Dodi. So instead of just having Diana, and then Dodi tags along for a couple of episodes, he thought, why not go back and tell the whole history of Dodi's family? Yeah, so I think that's really good. You don't have to do that, because the Diana story still works on its own. But it was good. It adds flavour to it, as you said before. It adds seasoning, it adds chili sauce, to it. Yeah. So I'm glad they did that, because it got me a role on probably the biggest show on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the bit.
Very stressful, Amal.
Was it? I want to know about it, because, like, you're obviously, in this kind of, you play, Mohammed Al Fayed's brother, and there's a scene in there which kind of like, we watched and everything, where Mohammed Al Fayed, he's made it. He's bought the Ritz Hotel. He wants to buy Harrods, and the establishment, the white establishment are like, God, who's this guy? This Arab. Like, he wants to kind of, ingratiate himself towards kind of the royal family and everything. And then when they start talking about the cost of buying Harrods, there's a bit in there where you're like, how much is it? And he says 600 million. And you look over to the other guy, to the other brother, and I just thought that was great.
And in today's money, imagine what that would be in today's money, yeah?
Exactly.
600
but that
million.
whole experience of being there on set, historical drama, like you mentioned, like stressful. Yeah. Like why was it stressful? And, what did you learn from that?
So I would, when I mentioned stressful, that was more like the audition process.
Okay, yeah.
Once we were on set, it was brilliant. But the audition process, so I had to record myself at home first on my phone.
Yeah.
Then after that, I had to come in. Then I got they call it a recall. I got a recall, and then I went back in to meet the director in person.
Oh,
Twice.
really?
So once one week and then once the following week. So it was a really stretched out and nerve-wracking process of knowing if you're going to get the part or not. And I thought I'd messed it up because, again, there was still some COVID protocols.
Okay.
So apparently they had sent an email saying, when you come in and meet the director, do not shake hands.
Okay.
But it must have been in a small print because, you know, when you're so excited, I only read the main bit of the email, which is like, we liked your tape. And I was like, they liked my tape? We want to call you in to meet the director in person. I was like, you want me to meet the director in person? So I'm reading the email, really excited. I forgot to read the small print. So of course, I go in, and first thing I do, go in the door and shake the man's hand. A Brazilian director called Alex Cabassi, very nice man.
Oh, right, okay.
Brazilian guy. I used to love him because he used to call me Mohammed.
Oh, yeah.
He calls me Mohammed. Mohammed. So I shook his hand, and there was a lady there who was a casting director. She went ballistic. She was like, we told you not to shake hands. And she said it right there and then in the room. So I thought, that's it, I'm finished. There's no I'm getting the part now.
Oh, man.
And then I did this audition in front of the director and stuff. But in my head, I'm just thinking, I shook hands. Like, you know, I couldn't get over the fact that I need to focus on doing the audition. But I was so upset with myself that I shook hands and didn't follow the COVID protocols.
Yeah.
But in the end, they called me back in a second time the following week. So this time I was careful. I was like, okay, I won't shake hands. I'll put my hand behind my back, you know. And thankfully, about a week after that, again, I got the part. And let me tell you, the day I got the part, my agent went crazy because I put my phone on airplane mode. Yeah, I hadn't slept for a few days. And I thought, I'm going to have an afternoon nap.
Yeah.
So I woke up from my afternoon nap and I just saw all these messages and missed calls. And I even saw them, they tweeted me. And on the tweet, it said, has anybody seen Mo Kamel? Yeah.
He was off the grid. Like
I was off the grid, like Jason Bourne. Like John Connor. It is time. Yeah. So I rang them back and I was like, why all these missed calls? And then I could hear in the background in the office, all the ladies in the background screaming, like, you got the part, you're going to be on the ground. And I can hear them like screaming in the background, like screaming for joy. And I was like, oh, great.
That is
being on that set, Amar
and
Duval, oh boy, the attention to detail, the budget. I mean, Liaison did not have obviously I worked on Liaison before The Crown. It did not have a budget like The Crown. I mean, The Crown, the smallest detail, like you could be sitting at a desk where Mohammed Al Fayed's character, for example, has a notepad. It's not even appearing on camera. But if you look at the notepad, every page is filled up with notes. Like as if he'd been writing notes.
Somebody's been writing in it. Yeah, wow.
And it's not even going to, the audience are not going to see it. It's not even going to appear on camera, but it's like the attention to detail, all the decoration, all the sets, even the parts of the set that are not going to appear in shot are still decorated properly and according to the time period. So their budget is just incredible. The director says cut, right? And I'm not playing one of the major stars. So even for a relatively minor character like mine, the director says cut, and 5 or 6 people start coming up to me. And you know, my character I wear a wig, right? Because my character has hair.
Good head of hair.
Yeah, good head of hair in there. I wanted to take that wig home. I was like, can I take that wig home and use it in real life? They were like, sorry. So I'd get like 5 or 6 people coming up to me, adjusting my wig. You know, when they brush off all the stuff on your clothing. Another lady was like brushing up the powder. Somebody else was like adjusting parts of the shirt, the parts that are not even in shot. And I thought to myself, the
continuity.
And you've got to remember that everybody on that set is getting paid.
Yes.
You know, like these 5 or 6 costume and makeup girls. It's not like they're volunteering their time.
Yeah, not doing it for free, right?
The budget that Netflix has to pay 5 or 6 people to just come and do that to not even a major star of the show, a minor character. It's like, come on, imagine the budget. You know,
that is incredible. Well, and the feeling. And so, what was the feeling like? You know, when you worked on the show, when you came away from the show, what was that whole feeling? And did that give you a sense of direction even more? That you were like, you're 100% in this now. You want to carry on doing this, and you want to carry on kind of going on auditions. You know, was that a positive experience for you? Obviously, it was. And you know, how did you go into your next project in your next role?
Oh, great! Come on, your questions, man. Great questions. I gotta say, you're really making me think. Because, like, you know, usually I've done a lot of these interviews now, right? Deval, you've seen a lot of
He
them.
got interviewed by Mido, ex-Tottenham player, footballer.
What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to get to that as well.
So sometimes, you know, you have like these stock answers that you've said many times, but you're asking me really, really insightful questions. So really, come on, no, great question. So what I would say is, at the time, it still didn't sink in because I got The Crown very close to when I got Liaison. So it was like a double whammy very quickly. It's like being punched in the face twice in a row by Tyson. So I was still kind of, is this really happening? I was kind of disoriented. Is this really happening to me? And I was still in that process of like, I have to get over this because when the director says action, I need to, I'm a professional actor and they're paying me to do a professional job. I need to deliver my performance. So I was still doing that. And then there were days when I was going home thinking, is this really happening to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like when they drive you back home and you're sitting in that fancy car, you know, with a driver and I'm thinking, I'm looking around the streets going, I'm being driven home like after I've just been an actor on The Crown. I'm like, is this really happening to me? And you know, you have that, what's it called?
Imposter yourself moment.
Imposter syndrome. Thank you. It's called imposter syndrome. That's what I was trying to say. I had that kind of imposter syndrome feeling like, nah, like, you know, I'm a boy from Wembley. You know, it's like, you know, this is not really happening. But then I still didn't have time to recover because what happened was my agent rang me and this was like, I only had like, this was like at the end of, I think 2021. Yeah. Near the end of 2021.
Yeah.
And I was coming to the end of my period of filming on The Crown. And then they were going to have a Christmas break and say, come back in February and finish one more week of filming in February.
Okay.
So we're coming up to the Christmas break. But there were only about 2 or 3 days left of shooting. And my agent said to me, you've got an audition. And I said, what's it for? They said, we don't know. But you've got to sign an NDA first.
Oh my gosh.
Sign an NDA.
Sounds like Marvel.
Sounds like Marvel.
Star Wars.
Sounds like Marvel. Sounds like Mission Impossible, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought it must be big. So I said, send me the NDA. They emailed me the NDA. I quickly you sign it online, you know, you sign it online.
Yeah.
And they send it off. And the next day the audition came, but it still wasn't an audition. First of all, the company name was not Disney or Lucasfilm. Some made-up company name. So you don't even know. This is how careful they are, right? Yeah. Some made-up company name, completely made up. And then they said, if you want to see the script, thank you. They said, thank you for the NDA. Now, if you want to see the script, you have to hit this link. When you hit the link, you have to enter this password. If you don't enter the password in 24 hours, it expires.
Mission Impossible sounds like it.
So I thought this must be a Mission. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, this is a Mission Impossible film because it is actually like Mission Impossible. Yeah. So I followed all the instructions, hit the link, entered the password, and this script came up, and the script had all changed names. So it was more like Indiana Jones. It had different character names, so you couldn't tell what it was. Okay. And then my character had like 2 or 3 lines of dialogue. Yeah. And it said at the bottom, can you say this dialogue once in English, once in French, once in Arabic? And I was like, okay. Because they know from your agent like what languages you can speak and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did the video. Same setup. Remember, I set up the video, do an audition online. Well, on my iPhone. I did it, followed the instructions, did it in English, Arabic, French, sent it off. And I thought it was going to be like The Crown, like, if the director likes it, you got to go in next week and be nervous and then go and see. There was none of that.
No.
The next day, my agent rang me and said, you've got the part just from the video.
Oh, my gosh.
So do you know what? This is not confirmed, but what I'm guessing is it was the same casting directing department or company that had worked with Netflix on The Crown. And I think that they had sort of recommended me. Yeah. Because they recommended me. So it's kind of like fast-tracked.
Yeah.
And it was the same company doing the casting for Indiana Jones. So I think they kind of fast-tracked me. So I think the director just saw the video and thought, if he's already on The Crown and his video looks good, just give him the part. So the next day they said, you've got the part. And then Friday, which was my last day of filming on that section of The Crown before the Christmas break and then come back in February, they said, we want you to come in on Friday for the costume fitting. And I was like, but I'm filming on The Crown. But then The Crown said to me, you're only filming half day on Friday.
Oh.
So I said to these people, I didn't know who they were, but I still don't know Indiana Jones, you know? So I said to my agent, can you tell whoever they are, we don't know who they are, that I'm a half day and The Crown? And they were like, sure. And they said, yeah, finish at The Crown and then we'll pick you up from there and take you to Pinewood for your fitting. And that's what happened. So on the same day, I was filming on The Crown, quickly went into my trailer, got changed, said to the people at The Crown, see you in February, have a happy Christmas, New Year. Driver's waiting for me, took me from The Crown, from where we were filming on The Crown, took me to Pinewood, dropped me off at Pinewood. And when I got to Pinewood and they were taking my measurements for the costume, I still didn't know what it was, but the lady's measuring me up like this. Sorry, my earpiece keeps falling out. So the lady's measuring me up like this, right? She's got my arm. She's measuring the arm like this. And she's got an assistant taking down the measurements. So she's like, okay, 29 centimeters. And she goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, one of Harrison's hats has a hole in it. So can you make sure you tell, and then they were mentioning all these names. Can you make sure you tell them to go and get Harrison's measurement for the hat again and get him a spare hat? So I'm there with my arm getting measured going,
there's only one Harrison, isn't it?
I'm like, there's only one in my brain. I can't say it out loud because I've got to appear professional. But my heart starts pumping like this. And in my brain, I'm thinking, keep it together, Mo, keep it together. Harrison, this must be Indiana Jones. And then they said, after they measured me, they said, we'll take you to your trailer because you might need more measurements. And then we'll get you a tea or coffee. And then if we need you again, we'll call you. If not, the driver will take you home and we'll see you again next week to try on the actual real costume. Because they take the measurements and then they get the costume. They get the costume made. So when they took me back to the trailer, I hadn't been to my trailer yet because they dropped me straight at the costume department, all business. And I heard that word Harrison and my heart was beating. And then they took me to the trailer and there was a guy there called Frank. And Frank goes, oh, Mohammed, can I get you a cup of tea or coffee? And I was like, yeah, thanks. And I said to him, so which is Harrison's trailer? And he goes, oh, yeah, no, Harrison's got his trailer over on the other side. And I was like, okay, thanks. But I was acting all cool like I already knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Once I got in the trailer, I rang all my family and I rang, because my agent still didn't know. I rang my agent and I was like, you know what this part is? It's Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Ford.
Gosh.
And I rang my family. Everyone was so excited. So, yeah.
That is brilliant.
Crazy.
What a great story.
Can you imagine being on The Crown and Indiana Jones on the same day? On the same day, Amar.
That is mad.
Wait for it. Two big buses come at once. Two big buses.
So listen, you're talking about
Jones as well. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, Deval, about you're talking about the budget for The Crown, and then you've got a budget for something like Indiana Jones, which
Disney
we all
budget,
know Disney money. So what are we talking about? Like, the difference in set pieces and set sizes and kind of the way that the day works. Is it obviously on a completely different scale?
Completely different level. I mean, I thought when I went from Liaison to The Crown, I thought there's no comparison. And then when I went from The Crown to Indiana Jones, I was like, there's no comparison again. I mean, this is Netflix have got money, but Disney. Incredible. The attention to detail. I mean, we filmed on stage 2 at Pinewood and it was made up to look like the Hotel Atlantique in Morocco, in Tangiers. And it was like you felt like you were in Morocco. It was incredible. The attention to detail, the costumes, the outfits, because the scene that I was in is meant to be set in the late 60s. The attention to detail. And as I said, even on things that are not even going to appear on camera, Deval. But what it does is, even though something's not going to appear on camera, it helps you as an actor because you're looking all around you and you feel like you're really in those circumstances. It's like there's a famous acting teacher called Stella Adler. I don't know if you've heard of her. She used to be Marlon Brando's acting teacher, back in the day. And she was Mark Ruffalo's first acting teacher.
Is it? Actually,
if you go on YouTube, there's a very funny clip of a very young Mark Ruffalo. He's about 18 or 19. And Stella Adler says to him, get out the class. What kind of costume is that you're wearing? Because Stella Adler, have you heard of method acting?
Yeah.
So one of the arguments that happened in method acting technique during the 20th century was there were people like Lee Strasberg.
Yeah.
He's a famous method acting teacher. And he actually has a part in Godfather 2. Do you remember Godfather 2? Lee Strasberg plays the part of Hyman Roth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Stella Adler was his friend, but they had a falling out because
he went his way and then she went
his way because Lee Strasberg was like, method acting should be emotional recall, really recall something traumatic in your life that will help you cry for the next scene. Whereas Stella Adler was like, no, why should you recall something traumatic from your own life? That's too dangerous. Stella Adler was like, if the setting is correct, if you can imagine that you're in that actual room, if your costume is correct, so if you're playing an army general and you're really wearing an authentic army general's uniform,
you'll feel like
just by wearing the uniform and just by being in a proper set, which is decorated properly, you will feel like you are the army general. So that will help you give the performance. So I was thinking, and around about the time I got that part, I was reading through Stella Adler's book, which I've got at home. And I was reading those sections on authentic costume, authentic surroundings. And it was really hitting home to me when I was on the Indiana Jones set because they had me in the proper, the fake moustache, the proper outfit. The set was to the finest detail, the set. Wow. Even the bits that are not on camera. And just by looking around, I thought to myself, I am in Morocco. And I am this head of hotel security, for the back. I actually felt it, and it helped me in my performance. But one of my favorite things, we were talking before about Stephen Hopkins, the director on Liaison, being such an honorable man and such a great guy and keeping his word and letting me have another scene in Liaison. James Mangold. James Mangold, what a man. I love him to bits. He is it doesn't matter what part you're playing, he treats you with the same respect that he treats everybody else. And he gives you tips. So I don't know if you've seen the movie, but before I have my fight.
I've seen the movie,
Before I have my fight with Phoebe, there's a bit where Harrison Ford sort of comes up to the door.
Yeah.
But without communicating, me and Harrison communicate with the eyes. Where it's like, just by the eyes, I'm telling him, no, you're not coming through this door. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
At first, what I was doing was, Harrison was coming up to me, and the first couple of takes I did it, I was kind of like going to Harrison and then moving my head like that.
Right.
And James Mangold came up to me, and I'm playing a minor character, so he didn't have to. But it shows you how kind he is and how generous he is as a director. And he said to me, no, Mohammed, because the camera's close up on your face, any movement is going to be exaggerated. So you don't have to move your whole head. You can communicate just with your eyes. So he goes, just move your eyes from one side to the other. Just move your eyes like this. Because the camera's already close up. So the eye movement is enough. And then I did it on the next take, and he was like, perfect. I thought to myself, look at that. And the fact that he would take the time to give a minor character that kind of really good direction, and then the fact that he would keep his word and promise to keep that scene in the film, and he did keep the scene in the film like he promised, isn't that great? Doesn't that tell you a lot about the man?
Amazing. I mean, James Mangold, I've been a huge fan of his, Copland, obviously, Deval and I, we're huge fans of Logan. And,
Logan. What a film.
The aesthetic and, his kind of, the close-ups and everything that he has. Oh, man, brilliant. So what an experience.
Amazing experience. I spoke to James Mangold about Copland.
Did you?
So on my last day of filming, he was actually on a different set, and I just had to finish off one or two little things, and it was a second unit director doing it because it was just like a little thing we were finishing up, and then everyone knew it was my final day, and they said, Jim, because he likes to be called Jim on set, and they said Jim is going to say goodbye to you before you leave. So he was filming on another soundstage at Pinewood. And they had a driver pick me up and take me, those golf cabbies.
They
had a little golf cabbie to take you around Pinewood. And they took me in that golf cabbie over to where he was filming. Isn't that nice of him? Just so that he could shake my hand. He actually gave me a hug and he said, I really hope you like the film when it comes out, and thanks for all your hard work. And what a great guy. He didn't have to do that because he was busy filming on another section of the film. But really, really lovely man. But I spoke to him. So when he gave me that hug, I said to him, I've got to tell you, because we were busy filming before, I have always been a huge fan of yours. I'm not just saying that because of this. like, I loved Copland, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man, I appreciate that." Because I did love Copland. What a great film!
That's a great movie, and you talk about method acting,
Yeah.
De Niro, even Stallone. Just seeing Stallone in that movie, man, it was such a non-typical Stallone movie for him to play.
You know that Stallone did that movie for free.
Serious?
Whoa.
Did you know that? You didn't know that?
It's got big
Stallone did Copland for free because he knew it would be proper acting. Because he wanted to break free of that Rambo Rocky, and he was stereotyped as Rambo Rocky, just those two roles.
Yep.
And he said, "No, I'm going to put on weight," because you remember Stallone in that movie, he put on weight. He's got like a belly.
He's got
a puffy face.
Yeah.
And he's playing somebody who's deaf in one ear.
Yep.
And Stallone said, I will do this movie for free just because I want to be seen as a proper serious actor. So Stallone did that. Stallone was not paid for that movie. He did that movie for free.
He was nominated as well, I think.
Wasn't there a similar-ish type of situation with the first Rocky where he didn't take some sort of big payment, but he wanted credit for the script or something?
No, because he wrote the script. Exactly. And he actually won the Oscar in '76 for writing the script.
Yeah.
He wrote the script, and as he was pitching it, he was a starving actor, had no money, couldn't even afford to pay for heating. His wife wanted to divorce him. He had to sell his dog. He had to sell his dog just to pay for heating, just to pay for heating and food. And he was so desperate for money, but this shows you if you believe in yourself. And all the studios said, "We'll buy the script off you. We'll make you very rich."
Yeah, that's the one.
Because if you sell a script, you can make $500,000.
He said, "No,"
and that's in the '70s. So $500,000 in the '70s. What would that be now? That would be like probably $5 million or $20 million. Yeah.
And he had the guts to say no.
He had the guts to say no. Yeah. I will only sell you the script on the condition that I play Rocky. And they were like, no.
What it is. Yeah.
They were like, no, you're not playing Rocky. We'll buy the script off you. We'll make you very rich. Buy the script off you, make you very rich, but you're not playing Rocky. And he said, no, I have to play Rocky. Yeah, so he, in the end, sold it. I can't remember the company that made the film, but in the end, he sold it for much less money, but he got to play Rocky. So
exactly,
it's a very similar story to Michaela Cowell. I May Destroy You. Very similar situation. She obviously wrote and produced, and I think even maybe directed a couple of episodes of I May Destroy You. That's on HBO. And I think Netflix wanted the show and was going to offer her money for the rights to the show. And she said,
but without her starring in it. She said, no, I want to star in it. Yeah.
It's my show. I want control over it. And I think she sold it for, a bit less to HBO. And she still maintains control. Control is a powerful thing for artists to have control over their own, product. It's a big thing now.
Intellectual property. Yeah.
Thank you. IP. And we look at the AI world and stuff now with what's happening with IP and stuff. It's a big thing. So I respect that.
Yeah. Nicely said, man. I agree with you. Yeah. A big respect.
Yeah, totally agree.
Talking of, so can I just say one thing about James Mangold?
Yeah, no, please.
Because you guys mentioned Logan before, right?
Yeah.
Logan is one of only 2 times that I've stood up in the cinema and applauded.
Really?
And people around me thought, who's this crazy man?
Who's this man? Yeah.
Who's this crazy man? Because usually you applaud in the theatre. You don't applaud in the cinema. Or if you applaud in the cinema, you applaud at the end.
Yeah.
Logan is a film where I was compelled. It wasn't planned. I was compelled, without my own conscious feeling, to stand up and applaud in the middle of a film. Can you guess the sequence in Logan when I applauded? Can you guess?
When he was dying?
No.
When he died? No. It was...
No.
When he went berserker in the woods?
No. Okay, I'll tell you. The sequence where I stood up and applauded, because it took my breath away. The filmmaking, the acting.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
When him and Professor X were talking about something, it was...
in the hotel room.
No, it's not that. No. It's in the hotel room when Professor X is having a seizure.
Oh, okay.
Because Logan goes to change cars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Logan goes to change cars, and he comes back to the casino hotel, and he sees that everything is in slow motion, and people are frozen.
Yeah.
And Logan immediately knows, this must be Professor X is having a seizure. Because when Professor X has a seizure,
people die.
All the people are frozen in slow motion.
Yeah.
And Logan goes through the hotel in slow motion, putting his iron claws into the wall to help him walk.
Yeah.
Everybody else is frozen like this. And he goes up to the room, and he starts going, shh, shh.
Oh yeah.
But they're not dying yet because they're frozen. And he gets,
oh man,
and he gets to the little girl Laura, and he gives her the injection, and she goes up to Professor X, and then she injects him, and Professor X calms down, and everybody, all the people that have been stabbed by Wolverine, they all dropped.
Yeah,
I saw that sequence. When that sequence finished, I stood up on my feet in the middle of the cinema and went. I started clapping. People were looking at me.
Powerful.
That wasn't planned, Amar. It just happened to. I was so swept away.
Breath was taken away.
My breath was taken away by the quality of that scene, the filmmaking, the imagination of it. I was like, wow. I stood up and applauded. And that's only ever happened to me one other time.
I know the other time. I got a no. Infinity War. No,
Inception.
Okay. Oh, Inception.
Towards the end of Inception, when it was dream within a dream within a dream.
Oh my gosh.
I was
dream within a dream.
I was so impressed.
Man.
I was so impressed that I was like, I stood up and started applauding.
Dream within a dream within a dream.
Do you remember?
I gotta watch that film again now. I gotta watch it again.
I know. I watched it recently.
Dream within a dream.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Do you remember that film?
Yeah. Let's rewind just a little bit. But
sure.
So from obviously, Indiana Jones, this huge kind of like, Disney Lucasfilm movie, and the kind of the experience that you had with that. Are you working on anything at the moment? Is there anything that you can share with us and say to us, look, are you doing anything? Or is this like NDA? Have we signed NDA afterwards or something like that, man? Because this is exciting.
In this situation, do you know what NDA stands for? No Duval Amar.
Yeah.
No Duval Amar. It stands for no Duval Amar. No.
No, because
you answer the question. I'm going to take it from you.
It's like as if this is the moment where you're gonna, you have to capitalize on that, and you have to kind of, go for more.
You have to capitalize and strike while the iron's hot. So what I will say is, there's a famous chocolate brand that I won't mention.
Right.
And there's a famous Arsenal footballer.
Okay.
Advertising the chocolate brand on a commercial. Keep your eyes out for that. I won't say any more. But not necessarily a part, but in terms of, I might have some big news in terms of management coming up soon, like being headhunted and stuff. Because now, just to let your viewers and listeners who are watching in and listening know, what happened after being on Liaison and The Crown and Indiana Jones, what happened then was the media started to take, this, Deval, because you've seen it. The media started to take an interest in my journey because it's like, and I never thought this would happen because you never think that anyone else is going to be interested in what you've got to say or your kind of journey. But it's weird, what the media finds sort of interesting. So they started to take an interest in how can somebody go from acting to being on Netflix's #1 show and being, in Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford. So I started finding myself, appearing on like ITV News with Eamon Holmes on GB News, articles about me in the Daily Mirror and the Daily Mail, the Metro. I was like, what is going on here? It's like, it's very flattering. Yeah, it's really weird, and being asked to attend the Crown auction at Bonhams and say a few words, and then appearing like, because my family are originally Egyptian.
Yeah.
Although I was born here, but my family is originally Egyptian, and I'm fortunate enough to speak Arabic fluently. So appearing on like Egyptian national TV with Mido, who's like used to play for Tottenham, right? Famous Egyptian footballer,
big boy.
Now he's turned into a television presenter. And he has me on the show to talk about acting and to talk about my love of football. Being asked to go, I went to an Arsenal-Liverpool game recently. Which Liverpool won in the FA Cup. A big Arsenal-Liverpool game coming up, right? Tomorrow. Nervous about that. And then people there found out one of the Liverpool fans was talking to me.
Yeah.
And we just got talking without sort of, we didn't talk in depth. We just happened to stand together in the stand. We were with the Liverpool fans in the away end at the Arsenal Stadium, the Emirates. Lovely stadium, by the way, got to say. Emirates, lovely stadium. And he said, do you want to swap Instagrams? As we both, I was like, sure. So when he saw my Instagram with all the stuff and the blue tick, he was like, is this you? And I was like, so he started to tell, the other Liverpool fans, news must have spread, So by the time the match finished and I got out, the YouTube channel, Arsenal Fan TV, they got a hold of the fact that I was there, and they were like, can you stay behind and do an interview for us? As you're a Liverpool fan who's also an actor, and so it's like things like this sort of starting to happen, and do you know what I mean?
Good.
But at the same time, no, it doesn't just happen. You've made it happen. The hard work has got you to this stage.
Exactly.
Yeah, the hard work you put in, the graft, the things that you do behind closed doors when no one's watching, no one's paying attention, all of that journey has got you to this stage where you've made things happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The work was put in.
Yeah.
A lot of these young people out there these days think they can do it overnight. Like you said, nothing happens overnight.
Nothing happens overnight.
No, this journey's been years ago, years in the making.
Yeah,
so
years in the making.
You got your props, they're due. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you saying that. No, I appreciate that. No, I really appreciate that.
And imagine the auditions and the preparing for the auditions and stuff that you must have done. And it doesn't happen overnight, man. It's hard work. Like even the fact that you said about learning lines is hard, man. It's just like, I mean, it's a skill.
Yeah, and as Duval said, I wrote and directed my own short films just to get on that first part of the journey, and that's not easy because you have to ring people around once you write the script and you want to make the short film and submit the short film to a festival. You now have to ring around and try and look for a cinematographer. Then you have to have that awkward conversation with the cinematographer, which is, I'm just a short filmmaker, I haven't got any money. Can you help me out or take a really reduced fee? Then you have to ring around actors and say, I want to direct this short film. Can you act in it? I haven't got a lot of money to pay you. You have to have all those awkward conversations. And then people say, well, let me read the script. So imagine now if they don't like your script. They'll be like, I'm sorry. First of all, you're not paying me. And secondly, I don't like the script. But I was fortunate in that, many actors were like, you're not paying me, but I love this script, so I'll come on board.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So that's what people don't see. People don't see that kind of work because, they don't see you putting in that graft, and they just think, Yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. The journey and we're obviously got massive fans, massive supporters. So whatever comes next for you, man, we're there. We're going to be bigging you up and man,
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Big things coming. So I guess
different show.
Exactly.
100%.
Thank you very much for having me on. Yeah.
But what I would say is what I think our listeners would probably want to know is, and there's going to be other actors out there who are listening to the show as well. Like, what kind of advice would you give? Kind of, any younger generation, any kind of people who've been in a similar situation, what kind of advice would you give to them? Kind of, coming up in the game, and how to maneuver around this kind of industry because it is changing, it's evolving. A lot of things are happening on digital. A lot of people are making stuff their own and putting it up on YouTube. But what would you say to kind of the up and comers right now?
Oh, what a great question. Okay, I would say first of all, never give up, right? Never give up. You have to understand that in this industry, it takes about 200 or 300 no's before you hear a yes. So you can't let those 100 no's in the beginning put you off. You have to keep going, right? There's a famous story about a famous fried chicken franchise. I don't want to mention any names. And the guy who started it back in America, he pitched the idea 1,012 times.
Wow.
1,012 times. And he got 1,012 no's. After, it's the 1,013th time that he got the yes. And it's now the biggest fried chicken franchise all around the world. Wow. Right? So imagine if he'd given up. Mark Ruffalo. How many auditions for Mark Ruffalo? 800 auditions
for
Mark Ruffalo before he got a big acting role.
Oh my gosh!
Mark Ruffalo, the Incredible Hulk himself. 800 auditions before he got his first sort of big break. So you've got to have that idea that I'm not going to give up. But at the same time, it's not just about not giving up. It's about working on yourself. As Deval said, it's hard work involved. Not giving up doesn't just mean, oh, I'll sit at home and I'll wait for 1,000 no's. No. You have to be proactive. So you have to be out taking acting class. I'll say take acting classes. Yeah. Read books about acting. Like I said to you, I read the Stella Adler book, right? I read biographies of actors that I respect. You know, I'm about to buy Matthew Perry's autobiography, by the way, soon, because I want to read. You know, he died recently. I want to read.
Yeah, he died recently. Yeah.
So I'm always reading. People underestimate reading. Read.
You know what that is
read biographies of actors. Read books on acting technique. Yeah. So that's a way of you. What you're doing is you're actually putting that energy out into the universe. You know what I mean?
I was also going to say, it's like, you ask, people have asked the question, why would someone else invest in you if you don't invest in yourself? Anything you just mentioned, reading, the acting classes, directing classes, that's a form of investing in you are the product.
That's right.
You have to invest in yourself before you can ask someone else to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you know what
exactly.
I mean? That's what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And also, maybe not everybody can be a writer and a director, but what you can do, even if you don't have any sort of directing tendencies, and you want to, for example, get a showreel together, go and speak to showreel companies. So first of all, prepare yourself. Take the acting lessons. Make sure your technique is good. Read your books about acting. Then go to showreel companies and say, look, I'm not really a writer and director, but I think these kind of roles would suit me well. And ask the showreel company to make a little short scene, 2-minute or 3-minute scene, based on what you think is your best character trait, and pay them the money and let them film it. And now you've got a showreel. Do you know what I mean? There's always ways around it. Don't be like, oh, Mohammed wrote and directed his own short films. I can't do that. It doesn't matter. You can go to a showreel company. They can write it for you. They can film it for you. But speak to them first and let them know, if you're going to write a little scene for me, a little showreel for me, make it with this and this characteristics, because those characteristics, I think, really will make me come across well on screen.
Yeah.
But you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the work. You've got to put a showreel together. You've got to get good headshots. When you pose for headshots, you've got to pose in characters. You've seen some of my headshots. So you can't just pose like this in every picture. Sometimes you might smile in one picture, but in another picture you need to be. You need to be.
There it is. There's the money shot.
Yeah. So you see, even in my picture, I'm a different character. That's a different character.
And that's the same character that Harrison Ford had to come and approach at the
role.
So they can see where they can place you.
They can see where they can place you, This is a different character. Look, just holding the watch. That's a different character.
Commercial, right?
Yeah? That's a different character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the watch. So even approaching your headshots and your photography, you've got to think, okay, I can do character, right? But as I said, work hard, work on yourself. Go to the gym, go to an acting class, read books on acting, get a showreel done, speak to the showreel people first, make sure that they write the showreel according to your best characteristics. Approach agents. If 50 agents say no, approach number 51. Approach number 175. Doesn't matter. Just keep going, you know?
I think you know what? I think me and Deval, we need to write a story, and we've got our actor. I think we're gonna have to do this, Deval. But Deval and I, we've been talking about this for a while. Exactly. And then we get the interview as well. Like, you know, we get Mo to come in and interview. No, seriously.
There's some gems. Those are some real gems. And you know, anyone listening out there, whether you're new to this or whether you've been in it a while, whatever your chosen, you know, discipline is, these are gems that they're multidisciplinary. Was that the word? Yeah. Multifaceted. They're multiversal. Anyone can apply these gems to what you want to achieve and go forward from there. So,
man,
what we're here to do.
It's not just the advice is not just for acting. It's for anything in life, whatever profession you're in.
Exactly.
Read the books about that profession. Take classes. Take courses. There's no shame. There's never any shame in saying I don't know or I want to improve. You know, I've been to acting classes where I've seen people who are in their 70s. And even established actors, and they're like, wow, I want to take a class because I want to refresh my skills. There's no shame in that. That's the whole point of life, is that you could be 70 or 17.
No one's perfect.
You can still learn. You can still learn a new skill. You can still update your skills, refresh your skills.
Isn't it? It's like training.
Yeah, it's like training.
Keep it ticking.
That's it.
Oh, man. Brilliant. Seriously, this has been so much fun, man.
People should
honestly,
pay for
Deval,
this.
seriously, we better Patreon. We better seriously start charging for these gems.
Yeah.
Listen, look,
Oh my
Mohammed.
gosh.
We hope you really enjoyed coming on the show and sharing your experience, because we've really enjoyed listening. At some point in the future, we'd love to have you back on, so you can let us know how you're getting on, and kind of the other things that we know that you're going to be working on. So thank you so much for joining us. And I know for a fact the Flixters out there listening in Amsterdam, in Australia, and
we have a nice new show today.
Exactly,
you.
we've got listeners in Japan, and we've got listeners in Japan as well.
Konnichiwa.
Exactly.
That's like C3PO, I'm telling you.
You know what I was going to say?
6 million forms of communication. Yes.
You know what? No joke. Yeah. I see Mohammed
gosh.
on Star Wars film or show.
That would be a dream come true.
I am not even joking. I can see it happening, man. Just will it, and you're going to be on it.
I'm such a Star Wars nerd, so that would be
because Daisy Ridley is going to be back. She's making some new Star Wars movies.
That's right.
And,
yeah,
mate, they're going to be casting calls going to be out there, man. That's going to be Pinewood Studios.
I would love to be. I'd love to be in a film, a Star Wars film. That would be a dream come true for sure,
mate.
All right, well, we're gonna make it happen. Deval, the ending. We'll leave the ending of the show for you.
Do you know what? Like I said, we've had some gems drop today. Mr. Mohammed Kamel, thank you very much for coming onto the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Short and sweet. We'll see you next week. We don't know what we're going to show you next week, what we're going to talk about, but with us, you'll get something good as well. Not maybe not as good as today, but it'll be all right. So we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you.